Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Bikes and Bants, where I talk to you about your bikes and then take them for a spin and give my thoughts. And today we're gonna look at Harrison's KTM 690. All right guys, I've got Harrison here with his KTM 690 2019. Tell me about it. Why'd you get the KTM 690?
All right, so I've had it for about 5 months, I think, around there.
Sounds about right.
About 5 months, yeah. I've actually been injured until recently for a little bit of the time that I've had it. Yeah, I bought it a while ago as basically to use as my adventure bike / dirt bike. I've had a few different bikes in the past and this was my most recent addition.
What was the last kind of adventure bike or kind of bike that's similar to this one in that category?
Yeah, so I had the Yamaha Tenere 700.
Yeah.
Bought it same day as you,
Yeah.
as you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, ended up selling that after a couple of years, roughly, for a few different reasons. But it just ultimately didn't end up being the kind of bike I wanted. And then I sold that. And then I just had a dirt bike for a little bit. I've always had dirt bikes since I started riding and got my license.
Would you say that that's more of your background, like the focus, like off-road riding as opposed to road?
Yeah, that's definitely where I've done most of my riding is dirt since I've had my license. I've always had a dirt bike and I've had a number of dirt bikes during my motorcycle career, if you want to call it that. But yeah, so I had a bunch of different dirt bikes, got the T7 as my first adventure bike. It was fun, I liked it, but it wasn't exactly what I was after. So I sold that and then I just had dirt bike for a little bit. Then I actually started getting the kind of desire to want to ride on the road again. So I bought a BMW S1000 XR to kind of let me have that fun on the road that I was missing with just the dirt bike. So I bought that back in, it was the start of 2021, I think it was.
Yeah, no, a couple of years now.
Oh no, end of 2021, I think, yeah. Which has been awesome. It was my first like real fast road bike, like coming from the T7. That was fun, but it wasn't like really fun on the road. So I bought the BMW and that was, that was a lot of fun. And then so I had the dirt bike, which was, my current one is a KTM 450 XCF. And that was like a motocross style enduro bike. And then I had the road bike, but I wasn't able to do any real like off-road or adventures. So that's when I started looking for another motorcycle.
And this came along.
Yeah, ended up buying this. And actually the intention is this will, because 3 bikes at the moment seems a bit too much. The intention is for this to actually replace my dirt bike as well and serve as kind of both.
All right, well, now we're talking about off-road capability, how does the 690 compare to the T7? Because that is a hot topic. You know, I wouldn't say they're in the same class. You know, the T7 being an adventure bike, the 690 considered more of a dual sport. How does it compare? You've ridden both, you've owned both. What do you reckon? I definitely have more dirt bike experience than road bike. However, I do both. And I guess to start off with the comparison, we'll start with off-road. So the long story short is this is a lot more similar to my 450 dirt bike than the T7 is to this bike. For me, some people might say the T7 feels a bit like a big dirt bike, but I don't think that's the case. I feel like something more like this feels like a big dirt bike. Like it feels similar to my KTM 450. Like even the riding position feels really similar. When I'm riding it through tracks, you'd almost feel like you're just riding a normal dirt bike until here and then you'll hit like something a bit more, a bigger bump at high speed, and then the bike will just be thrown around a little bit more than you'd expect on a dirt bike, but feels really similar. Now the T7, with that bike, it felt good riding off-road when you're going really slow. As soon as you start pushing it. Yeah, as soon as you hit like, you're going down hill and you hit one of those like washaways, you know, you just blow through the suspension. Yeah,
you go, doosh,
that happened to me a few times.
Yeah, it didn't feel very good whenever you got even a tiny bit of air and, you know, you'd come crashing down.
What about in the slow speed? Because, you know, we took those T7s through some tight single track.
Yeah.
How does the 690 even in the tough kind of more enduro type riding?
Yeah, so in regards to the actual engine, the T7 I felt like lugged really low, really well.
Everyone talks about that, like the T7 luggability. I thought the same thing. Like
it lugs better than my dirt bike, to be honest. It's like the gearing and it was put along at really slow speed. So the engine in that aspect was good and like really controllable, as you know, but because it's such a big bike, as soon as you are trying to maneuver it, or you get stuck halfway up a hill or halfway down a hill,
the weight.
if you want to turn around, if you want to do anything, then you start to really feel it. It's quite top heavy in comparison.
Yeah, I noticed
once
that.
it starts tipping, it's hard to hold it from tipping all the way over. A lighter bike, obviously, it's a little bit easier to keep it upright. So I suppose for the slow stuff, it's definitely easier in general to ride this, but the motor of the T7 did still make it good when you were trying to go up a hill slowly or something like that.
So you're saying as long as you kept the momentum on the T7, it was pretty good off-road. As soon as you kind of lost momentum, the weight and the suspension just, kind of...
Yeah, also like if there was big bumps, or you will start to try to push it a little bit faster where you blow through the suspension a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So the T7, I felt like, in summary, was really good for stuff like gravel roads and big open roads. It felt, to be honest, in my opinion, I had just as much fun on the T7 as I do this bike on the more open roads and stuff. Both bikes are great. But as soon as you start to go on tracks with more obstacles and
washouts, jumps.
Yeah, washouts, jumps, anything like that, that's where I find this a lot more fun to ride off-road, a lot more manageable. And I suppose lastly, and not everyone will care about this, but this has dirt bike style plastics. So when I fall off on this, I don't feel bad that I'm gonna, I think that is an EXC fender, the front one.
Yeah.
Like they just feel durable.
It's actually not something that many people talk about when comparing them, but I know on my T7 I actually cracked the plastics because
it doesn't feel good.
It's that ABS material, whereas this is the poly, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah,
I've seen people thrash them and they're still solid. So actually that's something that I didn't even consider.
It just doesn't feel as bad for me.
And there's just less stuff on the bike to rip off or damage. Like even the indicators are in a good position. So KTM really thought about, making it off-road ready or ready to race, as they say.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I haven't even felt the need to buy the little crash bars some people put on.
Yeah.
Just because to me, it doesn't feel like it needs it as much. Whereas T7, I definitely wanted that. I was a lot more worried about breaking something than I have been on this bike so far.
All right. Well, that's the kind of off-road. What do you think about it on the road? Because at the end of the day, you did buy this to be more of an adventure bike, but also for those day rides where you're riding to the track to tackle some of the tough terrain. Road being quite an important element of that. What do you think its performance is like? And the fun factor even? Yeah,
so this is one of the things that I had no idea. I mean, I haven't ridden that many bikes on the road. I had
you've ridden
the learner bike, I've had the T7, I had the BMW S1000 XR, which is a full-on road bike, road touring bike. Now, when it comes to this on road, and this is the thing that actually surprised me the most, because just by the look of it, I kind of knew it would be pretty good off-road for a dual sport. It'd be, one of the better ones you could get. But on road, it really surprised me because you hear a lot of people will say the reason they buy a big twin cylinder bike, and again, comparing it to the T7, because that's what I owned before, you hear that, it's a much better road bike. It's a really good road bike. For me, it's, to be totally honest, for me, it's only better in one main way, and that's when I'm riding along the freeway.
Is that because of comfort, like wind protection, and even just the more weight of the bike? Is that?
I think it's just a bit more wind protection. It's got a windscreen, and also, just more weight, so it gets thrown around a little bit less when there's wind. That being said, I had Pirelli Scorpion rally tyres on the T7, so as soon as you got to 120, 130-ish, that started feeling a bit dodge anyway. But for me, any other road riding, so going around twisties or just riding around the neighborhood, I actually have more fun on this than I did the T7.
Okay.
It's got the big wheels like the T7, but I suppose it's a lot lighter, so it kind of just feels more playful. Nimble. And the power to weight's higher.
Yeah, I mean, it's got pretty much the same power as the T7,
yeah, I think
but
roughly
in a much lighter package, 40 kilos lighter or over 40 kilos, which makes a big difference. Actually, well over, no, 60 kilos.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So
I think
big difference.
60, something like that.
Yeah, so 60 kilos, but same power. The power to weight ratio on the 690 definitely is a lot higher. So, as we know, that's going to lead to being a lot more fun.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I noticed in my first rides on the road, when I was just riding around my suburb, it's just even things like just doing like a U-turn and stuff, it's just so light, and it's just very easy to do those small maneuvers just with the lighter, the weight aspect. And then, so all of that played into the comfort for me. So again, it's just for me, minus in the freeway riding, but more fun in the twisties, easier to maneuver around car parks or whatever it might be. You know, you're parking the bike and you need to move it into a position, it's just easier. So kind of the other on-road aspects for me, I think this suits me a lot better.
No, that makes sense. Almost convincing me to get one.
Yeah.
All right, well, we talked about what's good, but is there anything that you don't like about the bike? Any modifications that you think you need to make to maybe improve it in certain areas? Yeah, so in terms of dislikes, I'm not gonna, one of the things that made me not buy one of these sooner was, you hear the stories about potentially the reliability, especially in the past. So that was always, should I buy one? I'm not sure. I know they fixed some of the issues, but the kind of the thought in your head that it's an unreliable bike sticks in your mind a little bit. Yeah. So far it's been fine. So only time will tell in regards to the overall reliability of the bike. Yeah. As far as I know, they resolved a lot of them in 2015. Yeah. And then this is the 2019 bike, and it's remained relatively unchanged up until, even now, the 2023. Yeah. I think the plastics maybe changed a little bit, but like the engine and everything is solid. And just from the stuff that I've seen online, I haven't really seen many problems other than, electrical and stuff. But that's, every bike kind of runs into those problems, so. Yeah. But back to the dislikes, I suppose. When I bought this bike, because I bought it used, the previous owner had done some mods already. So I guess real quick, he'd already just, because it plays into the likes and dislikes, he increased the range. The previous owner, they put a Array Garage additional fuel tank there. So it just extends the range. You basically have 2 fuel tanks. That does mean you have to fill up both fuel tanks to get the increased range. They put on like a different bash plate. I put on this rear rack here. Previous owner had put on an Arrow exhaust. They put on some bigger rally pegs. And I think that's it, other than different tires and different sprocket gearing, I think, slightly. But yeah, dislikes, the seat definitely is quite hard. For short rides, you're going out for an hour or two, or when you're actually off-road and stuff, you're standing up a lot, it doesn't bother me. But as soon as, for me, you're sitting on it for like an hour or two, it starts to... As is the case with all dual sports, I don't think there's a single dual sport that anyone buys and doesn't put on a seat concept seat pretty quickly. Especially if you're doing any kind of long distance adventuring. Yeah. I know with the WR, I tried to do I think I did like a 500k day on the stock seat, just destroyed. My back was gone, my butt destroyed. Yeah. So that's a given. I'd give that negative to any dual sport, not just specific to the 690. But that was the biggest negative off the top of my head. Other than that, some of it's to do with like the mods. Like the previous owner put these bigger rally pegs, which are probably better than the stock ones. For me, they get in the way a little bit too much, a little bit too big for me. A bit too wide, would you say? Yeah, a bit too wide. They kind of seem to get in my way a little bit. I feel like you don't need ones that big, or at least I don't want ones that big, but probably better than stock, so just left them for now. I guess with any dual sport, a slight negative is if you put these off-road focused tires and you're riding on the road, once you get to the higher speeds, it does get a bit iffy, like 130 kilometers an hour if you're trying to overtake, it gets the front end. Which we wouldn't do 130, like there's nowhere in Australia, but if you're on a private property and you wanted to hit 130, the bike doesn't, it doesn't feel like that's where the bike wants to be. But just if you, like I said, if you do happen to be overtaking someone on a private property, it feels like it does it. But that's a lot of that is the tires. It was the same thing with the T7. If you had the full-blown knobbies on it, it started getting sketchy as you got up there in the speed. So it's not just specific to the 690. It's the same thing on my WR250R. It just doesn't like being, at those higher freeway speeds. But 110, how's it handled? Perfect. Feels fine, yeah. Honestly, I don't have too many negatives to say for it so far in my ownership. If you're getting an Arrow exhaust, I'd recommend keeping
at least some sort of baffle or something in the system, because the previous owner that I bought it off, he didn't have a baffle or anything, and it's really loud, like obnoxiously loud.
It's loud, guys. You'll hear it in the flyby. It's loud.
Yeah, so I'm getting a baffle to put in it because it's just a bit too annoying right now. I'm trying to think negatives. I don't really have many, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
reliability might be a negative, but again, I can't speak to that after just this short period of owning it so far.
No, I guess that's the reason that it's pretty much touted as probably the best dual sport, because it kind of hits the mark in all the areas. It's fun, lighter weight compared to an adventure bike. Not as light as some of the, you can get a KTM 500 or the CRO 450, which they're releasing the RL here in Australia next year. But, those bikes, similar to my WR, they're not as good on the road. So for an adventure bike and touring and doing those big adventures, the 690's got them beat. Yeah, it's not as light, but like you said, it does feel more closer to a dirt bike. So in the hands of a skilled rider, you can pretty much take this through anything, I'd imagine.
Say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been loving it so far. Assuming it stays reliable, for me, it's the unicorn bike, I'd say. Again, I haven't owned a bunch of adventure bikes, but I've ridden dirt bikes. I've ridden a T7, which people say is, a very dirt-focused twin-cylinder adventure bike.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite hit the mark for me in terms of enjoyment on the road and, confidence inspiring and enjoyment off-road. Whereas this has hit it for me, so I'm really happy with this.
You heard it here first, guys. The 690 is potentially the unicorn bike.
Well, the thing is, I feel like I don't want to caveat is I'm not trying to rag on the T7 at all.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll make
it clear.
that.
I'm not trying to rag on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say this is perfect, but for me, so I said a few times.
Yeah, well, I'm going to include what you just said there.
Yeah.
Just to, so we don't get any T7 lovers in here, because we love the T7.
Yeah, it was an awesome bike.
We really love the T7.
It was really cool.
Just for us, we love taking it through some really tight technical stuff, getting stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And again, you can do that on the T7. And there's riders that do, like Nerb. He loves taking his T7 through the really tight stuff. But for us, we just found that the lighter dual sports suit us a bit better. Not to say that in the future we wouldn't be looking at the parallel twin adventure bikes, but just for now, with our current riding, the dual sports, and in particular for Harrison, the 690 is just a perfect bike. Yeah, we'll get my take on it, because all I've done is ride it around a car park, and I've owned a few dual sports. I've had the CRF 250L, I've got the WR 250R now. I've ridden my dad's DR 650 extensively. What else have I ridden? DRZ 400 I've ridden. I used to own a KLX 300, which the new KLX 300 is a massive update on it, but it still shares the same engine. So I've ridden a lot of dual sports. So
and you've ridden a few dirt bikes as well?
Yeah, quite a few dirt bikes. Had the 450, 250s. So, and adventure bikes. So I'm keen to see how it goes. So I'll let you guys know shortly. All right, guys, jumping on the 690. Let's see how it goes. Doesn't feel any. Oh, it feels a little bit taller than the WR, but it's also, I think, a little bit wider under my butt. So maybe that makes it feel taller. Whee! She's mean. We'll let it warm up a bit. Suspension feels really good. Not like the T7, which was quite wallowy. Oh, you can tell there's a beast underneath you. It's just got torque waiting to pull you. Yeah, what Harrison mentioned that, it feels more similar to a dirt bike, like a 450, and he's right. It really does. Hey, alright, she pulls. She really pulls. The WR250R kind of feels anemic when you get on it, whereas this just has that instant torque. You can really have a lot of fun on the road. Harrison mentioned there's a quick shifter. I haven't actually used it, so it's both up and down. So we'll come out of this corner and then we'll test the downshifts. Oh, that's smooth as.
and then upshift. Oh man, that's awesome. No clutch. I know it's an off-road bike, but it's a nice to have, and it just plays into it being more fun on the road. All right, well, the wind protection is, you know, the same as my WR. Like, it hits you on the chest, you feel it all over, but I'm so used to it. You know, I've done 4,300 kilometers on an adventure without a windscreen, and it's fine. Like, yeah, it's different, but you get used to it. But that power is so nice. We're coming up to a 100 zone now, so, you know, freeway speeds. Let's see how it does on the freeway. Well, not really a freeway, but freeway speeds. Whee! All right. Smooth. You can sit on this at 100 all day. Not much vibrations at all. Pretty much like any other adventure bike. Like, yeah, it's a big single cylinder, but not much vibrations at all. Let's test kind of the overtaking power now. I'm not going to overtake the car ahead, but, you know, I'm going to gear down, pretend you're coming out onto a road and you need to overtake. Oh, super quick. It just pulls so hard. Definitely feels weird jumping off a Super Sport, which I recently rode. You know, my GSXR, I was riding all day the other weekend, so jumping on the dual sports, you do miss that braking performance, but you don't need it on the road. So, you know, nothing to worry about on a bike like this. Yeah, the exhaust is loud. I'm sure it's louder for the people behind me, but if you're doing a big trip, you definitely want the baffle in, otherwise you're gonna have a headache. Oh, it's so much fun. You see why they make these as a supermoto, because, you know, it's got a lot of torque. It's light and nimble, so you can throw it around. It really does make a fun road bike. Oi, goy! Oh my god, oh, there's more on the left here. This is residential. Oh, that's cool. I will say, guys, the Harrison's right, the seat is incredibly hard, but again, it's like any another dual sport, just a stiff plank. But one thing that you notice compared to some of the other dual sports I've ridden is that the seat is flat all the way up over the tank. Like, you can sit right up on the front of the bike. It's so weird. You know, on the WR and other ones, especially with an aftermarket tank, there's a massive steep section at the top of the fuel cap, which stops you from coming up forward. But here, I can sit right on top of the bike. This feels so weird. Alright guys, well, I'm not taking it off-road, not my bike. I don't want to, you know, drop it or anything, but I can just tell, you know, bouncing on it, like the suspension feels very compliant, not wallowy. I can tell that this would be a good off-road bike, and, you know, it's evident that it's up there. You know, KTM doesn't put crap suspension on their bikes, so you don't have to worry about that. That's not a concern. People, you know, you might just get it re-sprung for your weight, or if you're carrying a lot of extra luggage, but no need to muck around with it. Alright guys, well, I don't have much more else to say about the 690 other than I agree with all of Harrison's points, especially like when it comes to road riding, especially in the comparison to the T7. Given that I also own the T7, this definitely is more playful on the road because of that extra torque, the lightweight, the agility of the bike. Like, this would be super fun to put some slicks on and take it around a track, I'll tell you that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of Bikes and Bants. There's plenty more to come, and yeah, if you enjoyed it, subscribe, give the video a like, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.